All right. Melissa.
I'm from Finnish descent, so my name is Melissa Aho, and I'm the president and owner of a company here in Barrington, next town over, Ultra Geothermal Inc. We started out about 10 or 12 years ago as an HVAC company. It's actually previously owned by Darren Rice, and he turned it around to become a geothermal company about 3 years ago. And when we started first installing geothermals 12 years ago, it was because someone asked us to install a geothermal for them, and we had no idea what it was. So Darren went to school on it and learned for this one customer. And what it turned into was doing 2 or 3 of them a year, but 3 years ago we did 100 of them in 1 year. So we became a geothermal only company 3 years ago, and we do about 150 to 200 systems a year right now. We install residential geothermal equipment, and that is ranging anywhere from a 1,000 square foot home to a 25,000 square foot home. We are capable of doing some commercial work, but we normally don't bid on them because people, we never win. Our prices are expensive. We install Energy Star only. All of the equipment that we put in is made here in the United States. We buy a Hydron module, and our literature is over there. It's made by hand, and they cost a lot of money. So when people come to us and they ask us why our prices are 20% more than every other geothermal contractor, I just have to say that we try to employ everyone as much as we can here in the U.S., other than our sheet metal, which really needs to change because China seems to be inundating the market with our sheet metal. But we try to buy as locally as possible, and unfortunately, some of the equipment that we buy is obviously from South Dakota where it's made. But we just feel that putting in the best equipment possible will get us to the point now. We don't have very many service calls. We have 500 systems installed with maybe one or two a month. We need to go out and do a service call on a maintenance issue that the homeowner usually could have fixed themselves. But our goal is to put in the system and put it in right. So we want you to have the most efficient running, least expensive running piece of equipment, which costs more upfront. It runs off electricity, so I'm not going to try and tell you that we're absolutely a carbon-free industry here. And that's one of the reasons why I think legislation really needs to focus on what you're going to pay for energy costs through anyone. Public Service of New Hampshire has some great rebate programs out for geothermals, and so does the New Hampshire Co-op. The problem with it is if the initial electric rates are going to keep increasing as they have over the last 2 years, we went from 11 cents to 16 cents in 2 years, and that's a lot when your geothermal's running on it. Our bills in our office went from $100 a month to $140 a month. So when you look at a price increase like that, when you're running them in larger facilities, it is going to impact it. But all I can say is we used to spend $400 a month in oil, so we're still way below what we were spending, and we're not buying oil. So to get to some of the points that were on here, basically what I was asked to present on, and all of us were several points, and one of them being what President Obama had enacted. February 17th, they came out with a stimulus package which included something for geothermal, wind, and solar, which was quite incredible. They lifted the $10,000 tax cap that was on the equipment from last year. So what that's now enabled people to do is take a 30% tax credit on something that can now be unlimited. The resource limitation is to what you can take as far as a tax because of the tax bracket that you're in. But for any normal person out there, this has been great for us. The problem is last year, with the tax credit being only $2,000, we were far more busy. We installed 80 systems in September and October, and the reason for that was just as Jack mentioned, when people are paying $4.50 a gallon for their fuel oil, all of a sudden, our phones are ringing off the hook. They're looking for a solution. They need to figure out why, and they're going to retrofit out their homes, and they're going to pay all this money to fix what they think is the problem. It was fantastic. It put somebody on a mode, and you know what? The oil prices dropped, and no, I didn't have a crystal ball in front of me, but no one called us this winter saying, I'm mad that I'm not getting my $2 a gallon oil. We had people calling us saying to us, we put this in because we thought we were saving money. We are so happy with the outcome of how the system runs, the quality that we get, the air quality out of it is unbelievable. There's no combustion of fuels in your house. Anybody with allergies can now experience a nice, crisp, clean air. And I wish they had it in here very, very nice and a nice atmosphere with no humidity.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but can you explain how it works?
Sure, yeah, and I know we're limited to about 8 minutes, and I don't want to keep you guys here, but I will give you a very brief overview because everyone takes into reading into it more than what it is. It's a very simple process, believe it or not. It was developed in 1937 by Mr. Weber, and ironically, how he developed this concept was he was looking at his refrigerator, figuring, you know, you open it up, there's cold air in the refrigerator, there's heat coming out from behind it, there's a heat exchange process that goes on. What if we were to run that in reverse mode, make the back of the refrigerator cold and heat coming out of the inside of the refrigerator, which is exactly what he did. So it took about 30 years to perfect what is now the geothermal heat pump technology. And what it's doing is it's drawing the water from the earth at a constant temperature. In this area right here, we're at about 47 degrees all year round, summer and winter. So it's taking the 47-degree temperature and passing it through a compressor coil in a heat pump application, and it compresses it down, and it has a refrigerant line inside of it. So the water is never mixing with anything, and there's nothing contaminating. So can now be put back into the ground to reabsorb the water temperatures. The water is passing over refrigerant, compressing, expanding into a gas, and now coming out in the form of either 90 to 100 degree air temperatures or 110 to 120 degrees maximum water temperatures. So you're able to use this for either forced hot air or radiant floor heating. It does not convert into radiant baseboard hot water hydronic systems. And don't let anyone convince you that it can, because we've had people that have spent thousands of dollars with companies promising something, and it's just not there yet for technology. But when you're finished, then what you're basically doing is just drawing out the delta temperature that you're going to get differential of about 15 degrees and using the refrigeration process to basically expand it. That I was just talking about was called an open column system. It's using just free water. There's also a closed loop system that runs refrigerant, glycol solution in water through the ground. This only obtains temperatures of about 2 degrees difference because it only can heat about 37 degrees in the winter here. It still works fantastic. You only need a 1 degree difference in temperature to be able to heat your home. It just doesn't work quite as efficient, but many people choose to go with that because it's more environmentally friendly. I personally very much endorse people that go with this because you're not drawing any water in and dumping it back into the ground. You're leaving it in a closed loop application. There's a lot of literature back there that explains all of these processes, and there's newspapers that will walk you through all of these. And I also left my business card over there. We also train people on a monthly basis in our office. We have homeowner sessions and contractor sessions on a monthly basis. You'll see them on our website. They're free. We'll even feed you and give you something to drink. So if you're ever interested in knowing more about them, we have one coming up on September 3rd and September 22nd. And we usually have it full though, so it takes a call to be registered. We have 35 positions, slots open. So one of my biggest things that I wanted to address to people here in New Hampshire that I found, I'm not sure why it takes so long for things to go through legislation, and I'm just asking a question because it seems to take a lot longer, as mentioned from Massachusetts. I worked for the state of New Hampshire for the last 3 years in the international trade field, so I know what goes on. I read a press release though right after President Obama had enacted the stimulus package, and I'm a little disappointed that things weren't brought forward as what they were said. And I'm in the geothermal industry, so I'm going to basically focus on that, but there is other parts of it. One of the things that was called for was that there was going to be a $6.9 billion delegation of money for state and local governments to give out for energy efficiency upgrades. This was supposed to be about $100 million to each state. And what was supposed to be done with this, according to the press release, was that an additional state rebate of $2,000 per geothermal unit was going to be available. And this would basically generate, they estimated about 200 extra heat pump sales a month. And if this had happened, then it would have basically given about 7 more jobs for that particular install for each month. So what you are basically looking over is 50 new employees per year that would be needed in the industry. In addition to that, it would be giving a 35 to 40% reduction in the carbon impact that is being used right now from fossil fuels. So my biggest question to the legislative branch is where's the money being spent and how's it being allocated? I try to be very on top of all of the rebates offered. I give them to all of our customers and I try and help them walk through programs. PSNH has a Heat Smart program, which if you dedicate your geothermal to one unit, they'll give you 25% off your electric bills for running that heat pump. There's also an Energy Star rebate program from both the New Hampshire Co-op and PSNH. These give up to a $7,500 rebate if you're building an Energy Star home, which I think it's great that the bill is now including that your home needs to be built Energy Star. And I can tell you one thing, builders are not going to be put off by this. We work with builders every day, and almost every builder that we work with right now only builds Energy Star homes, which is why we're one of the companies chosen, because we only install Energy Star products and install it with an insulation wrap that goes around the ductwork to put it to an R8 value, which is an Energy Star code. If you were to get a conventional HVAC system put in, or even another geothermal system by someone else, they're probably only going to give you an R4 value around your duct system because that's what code is enforced. But we would prefer that people start installing things to the R8 value, because then you're actually distributing the air to where you want it. It's not going to be lost throughout your walls and in your basement. And for future expansion, basically what I think could be on the process of being done is there are so many people that are looking for green technologies, and I have a very large book in my office that I offer people to look at these classes that I have, and it's not about geothermal, it's about reducing, recycling, how you can reuse certain things in your home. Have you thought about replacing the light bulbs with what needs to be done? Have you thought about what I do in my house? I put everything on a power strip and I actually unplug it from the wall. So my whole entertainment system with my TV and everything on it, you wouldn't believe it. I bought this thing that measures your kilowatts coming out, and when your TV's turned off, you draw 50% of the power as if you even had it turned on. So I just unplug the whole strip when I'm done, and when I'm ready to watch TV, I put it in, and the Comcast box comes on, and the TV and the DVD player, and everything comes on all at once. My bill was reduced by 25% when I did this with everything. In my office, I did it with my computer and everything else, so it gets unplugged at the end of the day. But if people just take a look at the simple little things that you could do to start with, then you would be amazed at how much money you would save on a yearly basis. I will be here for a little while afterwards if anyone has any questions, and if you miss me, because I'm actually at another event soon, then I left my business cards over there, and feel free to call me. And if anyone's really interested in seeing a geothermal run, we have 3 of them in our office that are operational, and we're open from 8 to 4 every day, and we're happy to have you walk through and ask us questions. Thank you. Thank you.
Here's a question: how can we get all businesses and people to stop using plastic dishes, cups, utensils, and switch to corn-based products? We use these on my place of work, and you would swear they are plastic. Well, the knives aren't too sharp. Anyone care to answer that question?
Now there you go. Now they think they can't get the knives to work. I think it's just an issue. Whoever wrote that question, every time they go out to eat someplace that uses plastic, they never bringing the point up. I've done that a couple times at restaurants, and I keep doing it. I think the issue is that we, as individuals, need to press the point.
I think what Jack said is very important. I went to Noel's Bakery and Kittery, and they give you your egg sandwich that I'm going to eat in there on a styrofoam thing. And then I went to ask for a to-go container, and they gave me a styrofoam, again, container. So I talked to the owner and asked him why, and he said, do you know 50 plus people every day ask me that? I'm like, okay, then why don't you fix it? And he said, because styrofoam is incredibly cheap right now, so he can offer cheap sandwiches. But I think he's going to get the point sooner or later. So I think the more times you bring it to someone's attention. Who asked that? Where do you get corn-based products? Where do you buy these things? Because I
U.S. House of Representatives, the cafeteria.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we went through.
Oh,
They got rid of the old contractor and got a new contract. The House Administration Committee said you have to present us with a green But otherwise, yeah, they need to work on that. But otherwise, you would swear they sell water bottles that look like that, but they're corn-based. And, you know, I don't know why we're not pushing this. This needs to be pushed everywhere.
Sustainable energy systems are developing so quickly now that awareness is raised. Does that mean that systems installed today will become quickly outmoded, much the same as has happened with rapidly developing computer technologies? And how about falling prices for these technologies?
Well, the geothermal system I talked about that we installed 13 years ago, it's in Newington, New Hampshire. And the answer to that is yes. Obviously, technology changes rapidly, that the heat pumps that are offered even this year are a lot more efficient than the ones last year. They're rated on a COP rating, which is coefficiencies of performance. And 10 years ago, that COP rating was 1.5 to 2. That means it runs 150 to 200% efficient. And the ones that are coming out now are 3.8 to 5.0, so 500% efficient. That job that we did in Newington, they already had us come back and replace the heat pump, not because anything was wrong with it. Your heat pump should run 40 to 50 years at a COP rating of when you install it to when 40 years is done. It should still, the life expectancy of them are 35 years on average. So versus a conventional heating system, they say that the life expectancy is 20 to 25 years, but the efficiency goes from 92% down to, my furnace when I took it out 3 years ago was a 62% efficient natural gas-fired furnace. So it loses efficiency because of combustion, but the technology changes all the time, absolutely. But as far as the value, the heat pump prices are dropping in price for install because there's more people producing them. But the value of what you put in, no, the value's never